I gave him a 7. Again, I thought he was our man of the match on the pitch yesterday. Brilliant performance, kept us in the game a number of times, and made some top saves. Just kept making save after save. There was one worrying sign of him playing out the back, but luckily they were caught offside from that situation. So that was the only bit of worry for me from Fraser.
Yeah, he got away with one with that pass. I actually thought he did pretty well. Again, number of big saves. He seems to be very busy, hasn't he? As soon as he's come into the team, every game he seemed to have been our best player. So fair play to him. Again, similar to his other games, like in terms of the saves he made a lot of them. I don't think any of them have been like incredible saves, but as I've said, he's such a big guy. He just makes himself big, and the ball seems to hit him, and that's very valuable when you're trying to keep the ball out of the back of the net. So fair play to Fraser.
Archie Gray, 5s all round for Archie. I think he struggled in a lot of moments in the game yesterday. However, there was that one really good sliding tackle. I mean, Archie was one of the ones that I think kept up his effort levels for the majority of the time he was on the pitch. I just felt like he was found out a little bit.
Surprisingly, I actually thought it was more off the ball he impressed instead of on the ball. I thought defensively he did
on the
quite
ball.
well.
Yeah,
on the ball, his passing was off it. He tried a lot of these long balls over the top, which a lot of them were inaccurate. Didn't see too much of him when it came to like kind of pressing or winning the ball like in the middle of the park kind of stuff. I did think actually a lot of the time when they were running at him and he had to block shots and make choices, I thought he did quite well. And as you said, that was a really good sliding challenge. I think it was in the first half where Bournemouth looked like they were getting in our goal, and he did really well to prevent it. I don't think he did terribly, but yeah, it wasn't on the ball. He still clearly need improvement.
Radu Dragusin, Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 4. Was part of a back four that just got completely opened up time and time again. He did make a few really important blocks and challenges, but I felt on the ball. I felt on the ball, you know. He just kept reverting to smashing up the channel and just being really panicky on the ball, and it really frustrated me. But I thought from a defensive aspect, he did okay, but also got opened up quite a bit.
Yeah, I thought defensively he was under so much pressure, especially that last half an hour. I don't think it's his fault at all. Every time they were 2-on-2 or 3-on-2, like he had to do so much work. And I think actually the fact it remained 1-0, I think him and Davies deserve a bit of praise for that, because it could have been a lot worse. I mean, obviously Davies went off.
But it was poor finishing, really. It wasn't
a lot of poor finishing, but he had to, a lot of the time they were running at him. He had to narrow angles, and he had to make sure that they weren't getting easy chances, and he did. He had to basically make do with what he had. And I thought he actually made do with what he made sure the chances weren't as easy as they could have been, essentially, and that did lead to a lot of the chances being missed. I thought defensively he did pretty well, and I thought up against Evan Ilson, I thought Evan Ilson gave him a lot of trouble, and he struggled when he was being pressed, but he just about dealt with it. But I thought on the ball, I agree with you, just horrific. So many times he's asked to play incisive passes, not capable of doing it. He just basically resorted to lumping it to Decky and hoping Decky can take it under control. And a lot of his passes didn't do Decky any favours, and he tried his best to make the most of them, but couldn't really do it. So I think on the ball, not great. I think defensively it could have been a lot worse if he didn't do a lot of good stuff.
You know what though, I just felt like in the last couple of games, even when Spurs haven't been playing well, he's looked a lot more calmer and a lot more assured. I just felt like he was just so panicky yesterday. Ben Davies up next and gives him a 6. I gave him a 4. Probably actually a 4 might be a bit harsh, so I'll bump it up to a 5, but you know, I don't think he was anywhere near as strong as he has been in the previous games. I thought on the ball he was a lot better than Radu, did keep it a bit more calmer. But look, Ben Davies did go off with an injury with half an hour to go, so he wasn't actually involved in the shit show that was the last half an hour.
Yeah, and that's obviously a consequence of we've had to play him again, time and time again over the last few games, and he's been great, but I think he's going to be another big miss. I think, again, similar to Radu, he had so much to contend with. And he was so under pressure so much, and it was a struggle at times. I don't remember too many times where I can point to him as being at fault for too many things. I think defensively, I think he did pretty well. On the ball, nothing too much to shout about, but yeah, I think defensively he did do all right. I thought, again, Evan Ilson gave him a tough time, to be honest, and he did panic a bit at times, but I thought he did all right overall.
And he actually did well to not get that red card after getting booked early, because you know, he was in the dogfight, wasn't he? Destiny Udogie up next, 5 from Destiny. I thought he was getting burnt quite a few times on the outside by Kluivert, was it? That kept.
Semenyo on the right side. Or Kluivert. Did he get booked? No, he didn't get booked. But yeah, they all kind of interchange, don't they?
Yeah. So I think it was Kluivert that was actually giving him a torrid time. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I did actually thought.
At one point, then Kluivert just burst past him, didn't he? In all that space.
Yeah. I thought Destiny actually in the back line, he was the one that was actually trying to press the issue for Spurs and try go forward and show a bit of adventure in his play. But ultimately, it just wasn't a great performance. I think there was some good, some bad in there, but defensively really bad.
Yeah, I agree. I think going forward, he was getting to the byline a lot and trying to help out our left winger. Obviously, Brennan was not really helping him at all. But I thought he was getting forward quite a bit. But yeah, defensively, that was worrying, that when Kluivert burst past him like he wasn't even there, just had all that space to run into. I was like, Destiny, I swear, Destiny last season that wouldn't have happened to. Why is that happening this season? And has something happened since that injury? Has he lost a yard or something? Because that is not something you associate being able to do with Destiny Udogie. Is he being too overworked in this system? I don't know, but that was a big concern that one moment, and we got a bit lucky that we didn't concede. And then yeah, in the last half an hour, he was just all at sea, just like everyone else. So gave him a 5.
Bissouma, Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 5. Wow, he gave him a 3, Bissouma.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he was great by any stretch of the imagination, but what I did think he did is I thought he was one of our better players actually on the pitch yesterday, which is not saying much. I thought he won a lot of his duels yesterday. He was combative in the middle, and he was also trying to get the ball and play it forward and a bit forward thinking, albeit he did get overrun a lot at times as well. So again, a bit similar to Destiny. I thought there were some good things in there from Bissouma, but there were a lot of bad things as well.
Yeah, obviously, again, he got booked early, just like the game against Man City, which I think was Kluivert. He fouled down the right-hand side, and he had to, again, to be a bit more disciplined. But I just thought on the ball he was making so many bad decisions. I thought there were some good moments from him. Maybe a 3 is a bit harsh, but I just was so frustrated with some of his decision-making when he's deep and he's passing, making terrible passes. His switches of play seemed terrible at times, out of play, not making good decisions in the middle. And I thought defensively they were just running through him, and a lot of the time he was diving in and just getting bypassed. And one thing that frustrates me a lot about Bissouma is a lot of the time, this happens way too often now, there's a pass into feet and he just takes a terrible touch. It's like a lazy touch, and he lets the ball overrun and he loses the ball. And if you're going to be a number 6 in this position, you need to make sure that touch is near your body. You can't allow that touch to get away from you, and way too often, especially in the past few games, he's letting that touch just get away from him, and it's putting himself in trouble. And it just means a lot of the time his second touch is a tackle, and that can't be the case when you're a number 6 here. So that's something that's frustrating me.
Pape Matar Sarr, Sim a 3. I gave him a 4. Yeah, it wasn't a great display by any stretch of the imagination. His ability on the ball in this game was actually horrific. It really was. Panicking on the ball, lacking of quality. Any time that he got it in the centre of the park, that to really charge Spurs forward, he just gave it back to the opposition every single time, and it was really frustrating, particularly in the first half as well, when Spurs showed that they could have something about them, and they were creating a few chances at that moment in time. And every time Bournemouth came forward, they were just charging at us really in an aggressive manner, and I don't think Sarr stood up to the challenge, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think Sloppy just lacked any sort of ability on the ball. I know he's been in decent form, but last few games hasn't been up to the standard he was, before that. And I think this was probably the worst of the lot. I was getting so frustrated with some of his passes in the middle. Again, there was some good pressing moments from him, and he won the ball back in some decent positions, but his passing was terrible. Wasn't able to find anyone when it comes to wasn't able to find anyone in a blue shirt yesterday. Very frustrating performance from Pape, and got taken off, rightly so.
Yeah, James Maddison, captain's armband on the day. Sim gives him a 4. I gave him a 3. I thought he started the game really well, Maddison, in the first 5-10 minutes when Spurs actually started the game well. But after that, I thought he completely vanished. I thought he went hiding a little bit. There was that one chance in the second half where it was some really nice interchange from Sonny, and he's got to finish it at that point. But he does hit it wide. But I thought there was just nothing in there from James Maddison for 80 minutes of the game.
I don't think he went hiding. I think he was definitely getting kicked from pillar to post. I think he was getting
drew a lot
fouled
of fouls,
so much. And that is a consequence of him beating his man consistently and him getting around the Bournemouth players, and they just had to resort to fouling him. And he got kicks in the knee, kicks in the ankle. And I think definitely when it came to the last 20 or half an hour, when did he get taken off? He got taken
80th
off.
minute.
Yeah. There was a period where we were on top and he was looking good in that second half, and he obviously had that chance where Son plays him through. It was good link-up play and he put it wide. Then I thought there were times he was showing for the ball a lot, and then there was a 15-minute period just before he got taken off where he looked completely done in this game, and every time they were giving the ball to him he was just completely losing it, getting bullied off the ball. I don't know if he was getting tired or because of the tackles or just because he wasn't showing, he was not being a leader, but it could have been any of the above. But those last 50 minutes he was pretty disgraceful and got rightfully taken off at that point. But I thought in general he was one of the only players actually showing for the ball and actually consistently beating his man. But unfortunately, again, wasn't enough quality at the end of it, and he had the big chance, didn't he? And also his corners weren't great. And yeah, that big chance.
Well, to be fair, 2 of his corners nearly went in.
Yeah, another one nearly went in, but obviously you're not trying to score from corners usually. But
Looked like he was, because 2 of them were right on the keeper, weren't they?
Yeah. But what's it called? That one big chance, I think if that goes in, we might be talking about a different game, but didn't.
Brennan Johnson, when we talk about players that go hiding, this guy really did go hiding. Sim gives him a 1, I gave him a 2, and I can't think of anything positive that he did on the game. He started off on the left, looked really uncomfortable there, moved back out onto the right, and just didn't show anything. I mean, literally, he did not provide anything for us in that game, and I thought he was pretty much hiding for the whole time he was on the pitch. Shocking.
Yeah, in that first half, he definitely looked uncomfortable, and I was like, but he actually saw quite a bit of the ball, I thought, in the first half. We were giving it out to him, and I was like, kept saying, do something, Brennan. You got space. You come on, you cut inside, go on your left. The problem is with Brennan, he's very much a winger, clearly, who likes to go down the line. The problem is when he's on the left, he goes down the line, he's on his left foot, and he's clearly not as strong on his left foot as he is on his right foot. And that led to basically being very ineffective. Whenever he cut inside, he's never going to be a winger who cuts inside and bends it far corner. He's just not that kind of winger, it seems. So he needs to be getting to the byline. That's where he seems a lot more effective. But he did see a lot more of the ball in the first. I was like, do something, create something, try and put it in the box or have a shot. Just doing nothing, just playing it safe. Whenever he tried to link up with any of his other forwards, went to nothing. I thought he just looked really uncomfortable and didn't look good at all. I was like, come on, get him back on the right, get him back on the right. So when he goes on back on the right, I thought he looked even worse when he was on the right. I don't think I mentioned his name. I was doing the commentating yesterday. I don't think I mentioned his name once in that second half in terms of getting on the ball and doing anything. He just wasn't showing for the ball. We weren't getting him involved. I don't know if it was a team thing that we weren't able to get him involved or was a him thing, but either way he didn't get on the ball at all, wasn't showing for it, and he was just dreadful. He would give him the ball away, and also in the first half he was doing this really frustrating thing where we would pass it to him and he would just play this first time flick inside to no one and put us under pressure consistently, and that was really like, just do it blind essentially, and that would really frustrate me. And I thought it was a terrible display.
Decky, Sim gives him a 5, I gave him a 3, and I was getting really frustrated with Decky because he was actually putting in some effort, he was showing for the ball and he was trying to make stuff happen, but he was so weak in the duels yesterday. He just couldn't win any duels. I mean, he looked so weak. I didn't understand it. When Decky, he's usually at it, he's usually going in for 20, 25 duels a game and winning a high percentage of them. I mean, I don't know what the stats are, but he can't have won many of them yesterday because he was so poor, so poor. And I would say definitely his worst performance of the season by far. Couldn't really make an impact in the final third. He was on the right a bit, he was on the middle a bit. And looking in the opening stages of the game, he looked a bit dangerous. He was showing some good dribbling ability, but he quickly vanished in the game.
I think actually he looked like he was more in the game when he was in the on the right wing than he was in the middle in this specific occasion. Obviously, when he was on the right wing, he was definitely coming into midfield and providing an option. And I thought he was giving Kirkes a bit of a tough ride, but Kirkes on the flip side as well, the more the game went on, the more he was getting the better of Decky. I thought a lot of the time he was our outball, would Dragusin would play the ball out wide to him, and sometimes he'd wriggle away from it, and sometimes he wasn't able to. And I thought if in the first half, if anything was going to happen, it looked like it was going to be potentially from him. He actually also played that peach of a ball to the back post where Ben Davies nearly got the end of it in the second half as well. So he looked like out on the wing he could maybe create something. We then moved him inside, and I agree, he completely got bullied, and that's not something you expect from Decky. He looked weak. It didn't look like he was able to hold off players, which is a staple of how Decky plays, and it was very, very frustrating from him. But similar to Maddison, at least he continually showed for the ball, and I don't think he went hiding. But again, that last 20 minutes, I thought he again was consistently bullied off the ball.
Let's move on to Dom Solanke, the last of the starting 11. Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 4. Just a really abject display. I'm not sure if it was because he wasn't fully fit or anything like that, but he couldn't really impose himself. The few times actually he did wriggle away, and he found himself charging at the Bournemouth defence. He just had no options with him. No one was following his run. No one was supporting him, which was really frustrating. He had a really big chance to put us 1-0 ahead in the first half, and obviously I don't know if it was 1-0 or it would have been so 1-0 ahead in the first half, and he's got to finish that, man. I've been really frustrating with Dom Solanke in terms of his finishing ability, and I've been saying that he's been adding so much to the team apart from that, but yesterday he didn't.
I think big chance out 0-0. I think he's got to be hitting the target there. It's so disappointing, and I think he just allowed Heisen and Zagreb. Again, you're right, there was some good moments where he won the ball and all of a sudden we're in on that Bournemouth backline, but he wasn't able to make the most of those situations. The one time he did create an opportunity, he played it out wide to Decky, where probably giving it to Maddison would have been the better option. That is something actually I've noticed about Solanke. When he charges forward, it's happened now 4 or 5 times. It's becoming a bit of a pattern. He charges forward, he's got a better option to his left or a worse option to his right, and he goes for the worse option. And that's happened a few times now. I don't know what it is with his peripheral vision. Maybe he can't see to his left, but he never passes it to his left.
He's like Zoolander. He's got a fear of turning left.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but every time it's happened a few times where there's a guy completely free on the left and he goes for the more difficult option on the right, and the chance gets wasted more often than not. So he's got to be doing better in those situations, Dom Solanke. But yeah, I think the few moments we looked like scoring, probably a few of them were in his direction. But that chance, I get it when he's not getting chances, but when you're getting a chance like that and you're not hitting the target, you're going to get criticism when people say, where are the goals?
Moving on to the substitute, Son Heung-min, who came on 5s all round for Sonny, and I felt like he came on with a bit of authority straight away. He looked really dangerous, creating chances. Him and Maddison with that really good link up, and we started to create a flurry of chances as soon as he came on. But that was about it. 5-10 minutes. It was like about 5 minutes of really good attacking play, and then unfortunately we didn't really see him for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, you're right. As soon as he came on, it made a real difference, because for 10 minutes. We were right on top of Bournemouth, and we looked like we were probably going to score at that point. And Son was right at the heart of it, and it looked like Son had made a real impact. He obviously got that goal that was ruled out offside, and we were at that point. You're like, okay, we're back in this game. Like, let's really take the game to Bournemouth. Then, unfortunately, Bournemouth made a few changes and tactical tweaks, and we completely lost our way. And then he got moved again for the umpteenth time into that number 10 position, and he's just not good there. He just isn't good there. I don't know why we keep doing it. There were points where Son was coming back into our own box and picking the ball up off our centre-backs on the edge of our own penalty box, and it was terrible. Like, he didn't know what to do with it, and he's never going to be this dictator, Son. He's not that kind of player, and I don't know why we keep asking him to do it in these parts. So poor.
Yeah. Who do we have next?
Oh, we crashed. Yeah, I think we've
the
crashed.
computer's being...
what's he trying to do? Clip it up?
I don't know. Are we off air or are we on it?
Well, back on.
We're on air. Sorry about that. Pedro Porro up next. 4s all round for Pedro. Again, I thought when Pedro first came on, I thought he showed like it was a really good change, and he was starting to take the game to. He was starting to take the game to them, and he had that volley that was, it was a fairly comfortable save for the keeper and for Kepa in the end. But he was asking questions of the opposition. But then after that, there was literally nothing in there, and he just couldn't. He failed to make an impact.
I agree. As soon as he came on, he had that one attempt, didn't he, where Kepa saved it. Really good attempt on the edge of the box, which Kepa had to be really good to be equal to. But again, just like the last half, like everyone else, but the last half an hour just got destroyed. And I thought a lot of the time as well, he was just rushing his passes, not being precise with it, just lumping it forward, and it led to Tottenham just being under the cosh a lot. So it wasn't the best cameo from him either.
And finally, Ange Postecoglou, 3s all round for Big Ange. I said it before the game. I didn't really like the starting lineup in terms of I didn't understand it, having Brennan and Decky on the wings. I think you either have to play one of Brennan or Decky on the right-hand side, because neither of them look comfortable on the left. And you play one of Son. If you want to give Son a rest, then you play Timo Werner, because I think Timo Werner, whatever anyone wants to say about him or think about him, he's been okay the last couple of games, and at least he's been providing a threat for us down that left-hand side. We can get the ball, we can take on his man, he can put a ball in the box. These worrying signs and these worrying traits, you've got to put it down to the manager. The way that we keep getting overawed by physical teams, you've got to put it down to the manager. Yes, look, he's got a hard job at the moment because of the injury crisis and everything like that. But with the players on the pitch, it's more than good enough to give teams better games than we're giving them at the moment. And this form that we're showing, the abject performances that we're showing, and the last half an hour, which was probably one of the worst half an hours I've seen as a Tottenham fan, and I've seen some bad performances, I'll tell you that, has got to be down to the manager. Yes, the players are culpable, and we've been through all the players now, but Ange Postecoglou's got to be the most culpable out of everyone, because he's the one leading this team, and the performances, particularly that one, were not good enough.
Yeah, I agree with the selection. If you're going to rest Sonny, you start Werner. He's the one who can play on the left. I don't understand. Werner's not exactly been playing a lot anyway. I know he started the weekend, but so did Brennan. So I understand Brennan's been providing a lot more for the team this season than Timo in terms of goals. But when you're asking for a left winger, I understand resting Son, managing his minutes, and you just got to play Werner. He's a lot better on the left, albeit his cameo wasn't great. But he's going to provide a lot more trouble for Smith than Johnson will down that side. At least he can get to the byline and maybe provide a cross. Johnson on that left-hand side just looks so uncomfortable. I didn't mind him starting Gray, dropping Porro. To be honest, I didn't have a big problem with that. Maybe taking Decky, putting him on the wing. I actually didn't think that was a problem. So I think the big problem was Johnson. I just think the way he managed the game was terrible. Obviously, he brought on Son on the hour mark, and that looked like it made a good impact, but the changes he made after that just completely killed the game again. And it's not the first time that's happened, where he's made changes to get us back in the game and it's actually killed the game and made things 10 times worse. And I understand at that point you got to open up and you got to just pile players forward and try and get an equaliser, but it just seems as though whenever we do this 4-2-4 formation, we look so much worse. We completely lose any sort of possession control. We completely lack any sort of threat in that. It's too easy to deal with, it seems, at the moment. And I get the theory, get 2 strikers on, you get players in the box, and maybe you can put pressure on the opposition. But I think the opposite tends to happen. We can't keep the ball, and when we're transitioned on, we've got no one at the back, and we're giving it away the ball way too easy. And it's like, Ange has to deal with that. The only one very slim positive I'll give out yesterday was Bergvall, actually. We didn't mention him. I thought Bergvall had a pretty decent cameo. I thought he looked quite bright when he came on, and he was one actually had a bit of control about him when he came on, was able to actually get past a few people, get the ball out wide, and actually progress the ball quite effectively. So big up to Bergvall, because I know it was a small cameo of 16 minutes including stoppage time, so wasn't that much time on the pitch, but he was the only one who seemed to have a bit of composure in that last 15 minutes of the game, so fair play to him.
All right, so that was our player ratings from the post-mortem from Bournemouth 1, Tottenham